So in this particular video, we're going to look at Fastgen to support our FlutterFlow application. Now, Fastgen is a fantastic platform that can really provide a lot of power to your FlutterFlow application. So for example, in this particular platform, we can actually store the data that our users are going to see, but we can also make logical decisions on that data as well, and they can serve that back to our FlutterFlow application. Now, the Fastgen platform can do so much more than that, but the key thing for us at the very first stage is that we're going to want to be able to create an account, we're going to want to sign in, and then once we've kind of got that as a foundation within inside our FlutterFlow project, then you can then start building out more logic within inside the Fastgen platform, depending on obviously what your own use case is. Now, the important thing also as well within inside the Fastgen platform is we're going to want to maintain a secure connection. So the application that we're going to build together is going to allow you to maintain that secure connection to the Fastgen platform as well. Now, of course, if you're now looking to use Fastgen as a platform for your own FlutterFlow application, please do check the link in the description. But by hitting that and going to the Fastgen website and signing up, that'll give you a 30% discount as well. Now, they've got a great free tier, really powerful, but of course, at some point, you're going to want to potentially upgrade that to support a much more bigger production-like application. So by using that link, that's going to get you 30% off the description as well. So without further ado, let's now move on to actually looking how we're going to actually build out this application, and then I'll walk you through all the steps to get up and running. Here we go. So in order to get ourselves up and running with inside this particular video, what I've done is I've created a basic FlutterFlow application for you, which please do check the link in the description, because that will allow you then to clone this particular project. Now, it doesn't contain no business logic whatsoever. We're going to build that together through this application, but I'm just going to save ourselves the pain in order actually creating the UI itself. And really all it is just a couple of pages. It's just got some basic widgets on there which look like this. For example, here we've got the login page, we've got the sign up page here as well, and then we've got a couple of pages here. The home page is the page that our users will start with once they're authenticated, and then we've got page 1 and page 2, which are really just simple pages just hanging off the bottom of the nav bar. Okay, so no business logic. The only piece of logic that's actually within inside this application is a custom function which we're going to need further on in the actual video itself, but I'll walk you through that at that particular time. But you'll notice up the top there is a little error. You just need to make sure that you actually go down to the custom functions here and just press the little check errors and get that compiled. This is the custom function here, but I'll walk you through what this all means later on in the actual series itself. So that's it. That's all you need to get up and running. And then next up, we need to then have the Fastgen account created. So just head over to the Fastgen website. Again, as I said before, please use the link in the description, because that will give you a 30% discount on the platform itself. It's obviously free to get started. It's not going to cost you anything, but please do use that link, and that will then save a little bit of money down the road as well. And of course, helps the channel out as well. So use that, and then all you need to do is go into the actual sign up here, and away you go. Create yourself an account, and then of course you're then up and running, and this is what you will see when you've actually are ready to go. So we'll move on to this part very shortly, but let's go back to FlutterFlow and let's start now putting the bits into our application which we're going to need to support our further build. So here we go. Okay, so here we are then back in our FlutterFlow application. The first thing that we're going to do is move over to the app state, because we need to now create some variables that we're going to need to keep track of various pieces of data within inside our application. So the first one that we're going to create is one called token. Now this one is going to be really important to us, because when we sign in to the Fastgen platform, we're going to receive a token from that platform. That token is going to need to then be stored within inside our FlutterFlow application, and we're going to need to pass that token from our FlutterFlow application to the Fastgen platform every time we make a request into the actual platform itself. Now that token needs to be stored. It only has a lifespan of an hour, but for now let's just choose the persisted option and hit create. Now the next piece of app state we're going to need to store is what's called a refresh token. Okay, so we're just going to go to add state and we're going to type in refresh token. Now this particular token is something that's also provided from the Fastgen platform. When we actually sign in, we're going to get that refresh token, and we're going to need to store it here. Now that this refresh token is really important to us, because the lifespan of this refresh token I think is about 100 days. Now what will happen is within inside our application, our other token that we just created will time out. So for example, if the user uses your application, they sign in, they'll get an hour's worth of use of inside your application. They may come in then on the second day, and of course that token would have then expired. It's gone past an hour. We need to use this refresh token to go back to the Fastgen platform and say, hey, provide me with another token because the old one's expired. So the Fastgen platform will then return back a token to me. We then need to store that back inside here, and then the process will then continue again and again. I'll show you how to create that logic within inside the FlutterFlow platform on how you can carry out these refreshes of the token. So it's quite a complex subject matter, but I'll try to hopefully explain that in a really simple way. So for now, we're just going to keep a field called refresh token here, make sure it's persisted, and hit create. And then next up, we then need to create a new one for us. Now this one will just be simply a user ID. So we're just going to keep a record of the user ID that gets created within inside the Fastgen platform within inside our application. So just hit the persisted option, hit create, and then the final one that we want to actual store then is actually an actual date the actual token was actually created. Okay, so this one is called a token create date. So just type that in there, and of course it's going to be a date time. It's going to be persisted as well, so we're just going to hit the create option here. And what I'm going to do first though is I'm just going to put some date in here. I'm just going to give it a default value. It really doesn't matter what date you select, because as soon as the actual user signs into our application, we're going to set this date to the date and time that actually the user signed in, so we can then keep a track of the actual time. So that's all that we need to do with inside app state. Let's now move on to the next bit. So now within FlutterFlow, we're going to want to now start building out this particular page. Okay, so we've got the create account page shown here. We're going to now want to hook on to the actual action here of actually creating the account. Now this is where we're going to need to call out to the Fastgen platform in order for us to actually create that account. Now in order for us to do this, we need to go back over to Fastgen. So I'm assuming here that you've actually created your Fastgen account, and this is the screen that you're presented with. If not, hit the APIs option here and you'll see something similar to this. If you just hit the get option, you'll see at the top here, don't worry too much about the detail here, but you'll see at the top here, you've got this URL. This is the URL into your project. Okay, so just hit the copy option, and let's move back over to sort of FlutterFlow, and let's now move over to the APIs calls section here on the left hand side. Hit that. And here you're presented with the define API call. You can see we've got nothing in there at all. Now what we're going to do is we're going to firstly create an API group. Now just incidentally, please bear in mind that if you are looking to follow along with this, you will need to have a FlutterFlow Pro account. Okay, so just bear that one in mind, because we're going to be creating a number of different APIs here, and the free account for FlutterFlow is restricted obviously to only 2 API calls. But please do sign up for a free account. You get a 14-day trial. Please do that as well if you would like to follow along with the actual project itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this now Fastgen auth. Okay, and we want to keep our authentication URL calls into the Fastgen platform separate from perhaps all of your other calls out that you would make through outside your application. So the reason why we're doing that is because we want to make sure that we are not passing any irrelevant headers or anything like that into the Fastgen platform. We want to keep this nice and separate. So just call it Fastgen auth. Let's just paste in that base URL. So let's just delete out the term hello there. So we've got the name of the project here. That's all that we need to do at this particular stage. Hit the add group option. So now that's safe. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add one extra bit in here, okay, under headers. Okay, so just choose the add headers option here. Now this particular header is going to be really important to us actually, because what this does is this is telling the Fastgen platform to return a little bit more information than just the basic response that we get back. If you look into the documentation of the Fastgen platform, you'll see it just returns back some basic information, but we're going to actually want to return back a little bit more, because we want to grab hold of those tokens I was talking about when we're setting up the app state. Now the way that you do that with inside this particular headers option is you type this in. So I type in fg-auth-mode::body. So you just type that in there. Now we know every time one of the authentication APIs gets called, it's always going to pass that header in. And of course, that's going to return back that extended information that we're going to need. And of course, I'll show you more about that later, but that's really important. You need to make sure you put that in there. Just hit the save now. And that's our high level group now created. Now, of course, now underneath that, we can now start creating the individual API calls to sign sign in, sign out, and all that kind of stuff. And of course the refresh token as well, but we'll do that in just a moment. So next up, let's now create the endpoint, our very first endpoint into Fastgen, which actually will sign up our users. Okay, so just choose the little arrow there. Let's choose add API call, and with inside the API name, let's just call this one sign up like that. Now this is going to be a post request. We're going to want to pass some details over via a body with inside our API call. And so just so you also know as well, here you set up, I've got one here called my FlutterFlow project. Now yours is probably going to be different to that, but every single project you create within inside the Fastgen platform, you will automatically get access to a number of authorization endpoints. Okay, so the one that we need is called auth, and we're going to call the sign up endpoint here. And with inside the actual variables, we're going to need to pass in both an email address and password. So choose add variable, type in email underscore address, and it's going to be of type string. Choose add variable again. This is going to be just password, and hit string. So that is all that we need. Of course, now move over to the body section, and we now need to select here the JSON body. Now this is our variables. We can drag and drop these in a moment. I'm just going to create out the actual body shape that we're going to need. Please do check the Fastgen documentation because you can copy and paste it from there, but I'm just going to put it in here just so I can show you how it all is set up. Okay, so there's the shape of the body that I've pasted in. You can see here we've got email and we've got password here. I'm just going to drag the email. I'm just going to move it into between the two quotes there, and I'm going to drag password down into the password. So that's all that we're going to need. We're going to pass in the email address and password into the Fastgen platform. Now that's all that we absolutely need to do. So we can just hit the add a call option here. Get rid of that. There's the add call, and we're now good to go. So now in the widget tree, then let's choose the sign up page that we got here. Let's now hook onto this create action. So just choose a create action, click the open on the action flow editor, and we're presented with the empty view. Now, what we're going to do is we're now going to firstly put a form validation actually onto our page. We've got a form on the page. We're just going to validate that the email address and the password has been added. I've not added any logic in to detect whether the first password and the second password match. We can do that at a later stage. But for now, I'm just going to choose the add action, go up to the type in validate form there, just select the form to validate, just choose sign up form. So that's good. It means that as soon as I hit the button, we'll make sure they've actually completed the details at the very least here. And then we just need to hit the little plus here. Now this is where we're now going to make that API call. Okay, so just choose the add action, move over here and type in API, choose API call, and then we now need to choose that group. Now we only just created that one group called Fastgen auth there, just choose that, and then here we've got that sign up that we've actually got. Now next up, we now need to set the variables that we're now going to pass in. So remember, we just created email address and password. We now need to choose those. So just choose set additional variable here, choose the variable name here, choose email address first, and we need to pick up the value within inside the actual text field. Okay, so that's going to be under widget state, and it's going to be under email address. We now need to set the additional one, so just choose this one here, choose password, and then finally just choose widget and then choose the actual password. Don't worry about the confirm one for now. Now once those are completed, then we are going to get this response back called API result. Now this is just some random name that it puts here, so we don't need to worry about changing that, but that's what's going to get returned back to us. We now need to make a decision on whether that was successful or there was a problem. So with the Fastgen platform, that returns back something called a status. Okay, so it's going to contain additional details for us, but it's also going to contain this value called status. It could be an OK, it could be an error, or something like that. So we need to put some conditional logic in here to say, actually, if everything is okay, then head in this direction. If there's a problem, then maybe just show a little snack bar message or something within inside our application to say back to the user that something is not quite right. Okay, so over on the little plus here, just choose plus and choose add a conditional, just choose that, and up this actual condition section, just choose a conditions here and do a single condition here, and then the first value, just select that, and we're going to want to hook onto the output that comes back from the API response here. So just choose action outputs, choose that result here, and then within inside this drop down, choose API response options, select that, say JSON body, and with inside here, we're going to say the JSON path. So this is now the route into that value with inside that response. Okay, so just scroll down here, and with inside that JSON path, just type in .status. So it's $.status, and then hit confirm. And we're going to say is not equal to, and then choose the second value. Choose value source and say from variable. And then with inside here, this is all a bit odd with inside FlutterFlow. I think it's probably the bit that I find is a little bit odd. I can't actually choose a string at this point. I'm sure once upon a time I could do this. So I'm gonna have to scroll down to combine text here. And I'm just gonna put the value that I'm looking for here. So I'm just gonna type it in field underscore error. So I'm going to type in field underscore error. That's what value is going to be returned back to me if there's a problem. So for example, if the user has, for example, just put in a username, like an email address is already currently being used, then we'll get this field error come back. So just hit confirm. And then down on, if I just move down here, just hit confirm. So that's our check. If I just scroll up here. So let's now add a snack bar actually in to display an error message. So if the API response provided back a error, we need to display that back to our user. So just choose the add action option here. Just do a search for snack bar, show snack bar here. And the value that I'm just going to put in here is going to be quite simple. Just choose action outputs, choose API results. Here, just choose the JSON body, and then down here, just choose JSON path, and we're now going to hook into the response that comes back from Fastgen, which will display the actual error. And I need to type in this. So it's $.form fields with an uppercase F, square brackets, and then with 0 in the middle, .error. That's really important. That will give us our route into the actual error message itself. Just hit confirm, and that will now display that. We can come back here later and we can style this up a little bit more, but that's what we need to handle that error. But of course, that's the error. We now need to handle the positive response now. So let's just move over here. So we now need to handle the values that come back and then store those values within inside our app state. So you remember before we had the token and the refresh token, the user ID, and of course we're going to create that timestamp as well for our token date. So let's move over to the little plus here. Let's choose add action and just type it in state here, and we're going to want to update the app state. So choose update app state, and we can now start padding out these fields here. So the first one that we're going to do is the token. So just choose the set value option here, and the value to set, we just need to go back into the action outputs here, choose API result. Where it says API response, choose JSON body, and then of course we now need to work our way down and actually pull that out. So the first one is called access token. That's the name of the value that's within inside the response that comes back. Just hit confirm. Let's go to add field again, because we can use this to set multiple values within inside one action block, which is great. Just choose the set value again. Just choose the value to set. Move down to the action outputs. Choose the API result here. Just choose JSON body, JSON path. Move here. This one's going to be called refresh token. Just make sure you get the case in right as well with the uppercase T. Just choose confirm. Let's scroll down again. Just choose add fields here. The user ID. Let's get that as well. Just set the value to set. Again, it's on the action output, API results, JSON body, JSON path here. So this one is user.id. Okay, so it's a little bit deeper. The ID is a little bit deeper with inside the response that comes back. So just hit confirm. And then finally, on the add field, we're now going to want to set the token create date. This is really simple. Just choose token create date here. Just move down to set value. Choose the value to actually set, and with inside the where is it there, it's in the global properties here, just choose current time. So that's going to grab the current time. Just hit confirm. That's all that we need to do on updating our application state. So of course this is a positive route. Of course now we know that the user's account will be created at that particular point. We've set the values with inside the state, so we know we've got a token, we've got everything that's been returned back from the Fastgen platform, so we can make an assumption here that the user is authenticated and they're ready to be navigated through to the home page. Okay, so just choose the little plus here, choose add action, and then we just want to do the navigate to, and we're just going to select the home here, and we don't want to allow the back navigation. If you wanted to set a transition type, you could do that here, but we're not going to worry too much about that at this particular stage, and then just hit close. That should be all that we need now to support our sign in. So let's actually give this a whirl. Let's actually fire this up now as an application. Let's try creating an account. Let's see if it gets created within inside the Fastgen platform. So actually, before we do fire this actually up, there's one thing I've forgotten that we do need to do, which is really important. So with inside our application, what's going to happen is when the application loads up the first time, the entry page is this home page. Now, of course, we're going to be making an assumption that our users are already authenticated. We need to do a couple of checks. We need to check to see, does the access token and does the refresh token currently exist and has been set with inside our application. So what we need to do is we need to make a check for that. If it's not set, we need to redirect our users back to the login page. Okay. So with inside the widget tree, just make sure you've got home selected, move over to, or in fact, just make sure you've got home selected just there, move over to the actions here, click the action flow editor, and we're now going to add in a conditional action. So choose add a conditional action in, and with inside the actual conditions, let's choose that one, and we're going to do a combination. Okay, so just choose the combined conditions here. So we're going to want to check to see if the actual access token is set first. So just choose that one here, choose conditions and choose a single condition, and we'll just choose the first value, select this one here, and then we're going to check inside the app state, and we're going to hit the token option here, and we're going to say, instead of saying equal to, we're going to say is not set, is empty. And we're going to then also hit confirm, and then down here we're going to choose or, and then down here we're going to choose this particular one here, and we're going to say conditions and choose single condition. The first value again, we're just going to choose now back down into the app state, we're going to choose the refresh token, and we're going to do the same thing here, say is not set or is empty, and then we're just going to hit confirm, and that's going to allow us to then do that check. So we're just going to hit confirm there. Now of course, if that is true, so if none of those are set, we're going to want to navigate our user back to the actual login page as well. So just choose that here, choose the plus here, choose add action, and up here it says navigate to, just choose that, and we're going to send them back to the login page itself. And we're not going to say, we're going to turn this little toggle off to allow back navigation, and that's all we need to. Again, we can choose transition type so we can make it a little bit more prettier later. So just hit close, and that is good to go. So we can now fire this up now, and hopefully what will happen is our application will show the actual sign in page. Let's give that a whirl now. Okay, so application is nicely loaded up in test mode. That's looking good for us. Now we know we can't actually sign in yet, but we can certainly try to sign up. So just hit the sign up option here. Let's put an email address here. Let's put my email address in here. The Digital Pro Outlook. Let's put a password in. So the password, we've got a minimum requirement inside the Fastgen platform that it must be 8 characters, okay, and it must contain an alpha character as well. So I'm just going to put here a password in here. Okay, I'm just going to confirm the password. Not that we need to worry about confirming the password here at this particular state, but there we go. We've got the password. This matches the rules. Let's hit the create account. Bingo, there we go. It looks like we're all signed in, which is really, really good. Now, of course, we need to be able to test this. So we're going to need to put some option in here to actually clear down that refresh token and that access token within inside our application. We can then try signing in again. So let's make a quick little tweak to our application to allow us to quickly do that. Okay, so back in FlutterFlow, let's move over to page 2. Let's put just something on page 2. Let's now just create a button on here that's now going to clear down those details. So on the column here, let's just put a very simple button on here. Nothing special, just it can stay where it is, it's no problem. Move over to the actual actions here, click on the action flow editor, hit the add action, and here we just want to update the actual state itself, the actual app state. So just choose update app state, choose the fields, let's choose token here, let's just clear the value, let's add the field on the refresh token here, let's just clear the value there, which is all that we need to do. Don't worry too much about the user ID or anything like that. That should be fine. And then hit the little plus here, and we're going to add the action, and we're going to navigate our users back to the actual login screen itself and take off the allow back navigation. Just hit close, and that's all that we should need to do. Let's move back over into test mode. Let's just do an instant reload. So on page 2, just select that, hit the button at the bottom here, and that's signed our user technically out in terms of actually just removing the actual refresh tokens and the authentication tokens. So whatever happens now, we have to sign back into our application in order to gain access to the rest of our application. So next up, let's now do the sign in part of our application. So just move over to the API calls option here, move the little arrow down. Let's add an API call in this one, and we're going to call it sign in. Okay, so we know that the endpoint is going to be auth/sign in, just like that. And we now need to do something very similar to what we did before. We need to choose the variables here, choose add variable. Let's type in email underscore address there, and let's just type in a password itself. Let's set both of these types here to be strings. That is good. And we need to change the method type to a post, because we're going to be passing details in as we did previously. Just hit the add API, the add call there. Let's move over to sign up. Let's move over to the body. Let's just copy this out, because we're going to need to reuse this, because it's going to be exactly the same. So just copy that to the clipboard, go back to sign in, go back to the actual body itself, choose the body as JSON, and then here just replace that and just paste everything, and that should be exactly how it is. So just hit the save there. Now what we could do, we could just quite simply test it actually to see if we actually do get authenticated and signed in. So I'm going to go to the response and test here, and I'm going to type in the email address and password that I just created on my account here. So I just typed in my credentials here. I'm the Digital Pro and put my password in there. Okay, let's now try hitting the test API call. Let's see what we get back. Fantastic. There we go. You can see now this is the data that we've actually now got coming back from the Fastgen platform. This access token and the refresh token, which is what we're now persisting with inside our application state. The status, which is okay, which is great. And then we've got these further user details that we can then store. And as you can see, we're hooking onto the user and the ID, and we're storing the user ID actually with inside our application state variable as well. So this just gives you a good preview of what's coming back from the Fastgen platform. So that's looking good. So our API call looks like it's set up. Now let's try changing the UI now to make all of this happen. Okay, so back in the widget tree here and with inside the actual login page, let's now add the action into actually sign in. Okay, so just hit the sign in option here, choose the actions and click on open. And the first one that we're going to do is the form validation. Okay, so if you remember previously we had a validate form here, just choose the login form option. So that will not pass through this particular validation form unless the rules within inside the form actually are true. So let's hit the plus here. The next part that we're going to do is add the API call in to our sign in URL. So let's just do a search for API call here, choose that. Let's choose the group here as Fastgen auth, and in the drop down, let's choose the sign in option. Now we need to pass some values in just as we did before. Let's do that now. Let's choose the variable name of email address. The value is going to be the widget state and it's going to be the email address itself. Choose the next one. This is clearly going to be the password. Choose password here, widget state, and choose password. That is good. And then we're going to get the API result back. And of course, we now need to do a conditional check to make sure we get that okay. If you remember back from what we just saw with inside the API response, we had an okay. We want to check to see if we do get that okay. So with inside the true, now we know we're going to get a success probably back from the API. So just choose the little plus here, but is it going to be that okay that we're looking for? So we need to add this conditional in here. We need to go to conditions, choose the single condition. And the first value is going to be the action output here. So choose the API result, and then here choose the API response options, select the JSON body, and here we just need to choose a JSON path, and further down here we just need to look for the status. So just type in $.status, hit confirm, and we're going to say is it equal to an okay. So go here, choose the value source. We have to say from variable again. I just really would like them to put string back in there. It's something I must pick up with the FlutterFlow team. So they may have corrected it, or they may have added something in there at the time of watching, but for now we move down to combine text here, choose just type in okay actually and say confirm, and then just hit confirm again, and that should be good. So if we know we're okay and we're signed in, then we're going to want to now do what we did before and update our app state variables with our access token, our refresh token, all that kind of stuff. So just choose the plus here, choose add action, type in state here and say update app state, and here we now need to set those fields. So let's go and do that now. Select token, choose the select we don't actually want to set the value here, choose the value to set, and we're going to go into the action outputs. We're going to choose the API result, choose here, say JSON body, and we're going to say JSON path here, and we're just going to type in here access token, hit confirm. We now need to do it again. Now we need to pick up that refresh token. So just choose a set value here, go down to the action outputs, the result, choose the JSON body, JSON path, and then let's just put refresh token in like that, hit confirm. And similarly, like we did before, we're gonna have to set the user ID as well. So just do the set value, move down here to the action outputs, JSON body, we're going to go to JSON path. And if you remember back previously, it was user.id. So $.user.id and hit confirm. And finally, we just now need to set that token create date down here. Just choose set value, choose value to set, global properties, and choose the current time. That is good. Now, of course, once we've done that, the next stage, we're going to need to navigate our user to the actual home page here, hit the plus, hit add action, hit navigate to, and we're going to say the home page there. I'm just going to take the allow back navigation off. And of course, the transitions can be updated at any particular time. Now, of course, if we go down here and we've actually got a problem, we now need to handle that as well. So I'm simply just going to put a snack bar message in here of incorrect credentials, hit add action, just type in snack bar, say show snack bar, and the message, I'm just going to put in incorrect credentials. So that should be all nicely set up. And of course, if they go down this route, then clearly the application is not going to move any further at that particular point. So they need to correct that, and then they'll be able to sign in. So just hit close there, and we should be good now to try now signing into our application. Okay, so up and running again in test mode. Now let's firstly try putting in just some gobbledygook characters here to see if our failure works. Hit sign in. Brilliant, there we go. Incorrect credentials is coming at the bottom. Of course, this needs a little bit of styling, but pretty much that's good. Now let's just try typing in the correct password. I'm hoping this is now going to redirect to our home page. And there it is. Excellent. That's perfect. So it looks like we're all signed in. If I go to page 2 and I'll log out, then we know we can log back out from our application. So it looks like we're in a really, really good position. So now let's move on to the next part. So there you go. That's part 1 of a 2-part on getting authentication set up with inside our FlutterFlow application. In part 2, we're going to look at the refresh token part. That's really important for our application because, of course, the token that we got coming back from the Fastgen platform will expire in 1 hour. We're going to want to provide an uninterrupted experience for our users. So we're going to need to go back out to the Fastgen platform and retrieve that new token back, and then we can carry on with any operation that we need inside our application. As always, please do like the video, please do subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.